The Golden State Warriors were the powerhouse of NBA basketball for the last decade. Since 2015, they've won 4 titles and made 8 finals appearances.
Curry comes free, gets the ball, puts up a three-pointer. Bang! Steph Curry!
Led by the dynamic duo of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Warriors revolutionized modern basketball with their high-octane offense and stellar three-point shooting. But all dynasties eventually come to an end. Last season, the Warriors went 46 for 36, failed to advance past the play-in tournament, and saw Klay Thompson depart for Dallas in free agency. It seemed like the era of Warriors dominance was finally over. Let's take a closer look at the state of the Warriors and analyze just how bad they really are. As the Warriors navigate the turbulent waters of the post-dynasty era, one thing remains crystal clear. Where Steph Curry goes, so go the Golden State Warriors. For the better part of the last decade, Curry has been the sun around which the Warriors' offense orbits. His gravity warps defenses, his shot-making demoralizes opponents, and his leadership inspires his teammates to reach heights they could never achieve on their own. But as the saying goes, Father Time is undefeated, and even a player as transcendent as Curry is not immune to the ravages of age. Now in his 16th NBA season, the 36-year-old Curry has shown signs of mortality. In the early going of the 2024-25 campaign, he's averaging just 18.3 points per game. More concerning than the numbers is the fact that Curry has already missed time due to a nagging ankle injury.
Derek White is on Steph Curry. Curry, quick three-pointer, he's fouled.
The Warriors have managed to stay afloat in his absence, going 2-0, but it's clear this team is not built to withstand extended periods without their franchise cornerstone. The harsh reality is that the Warriors are more reliant on Curry now than ever before. The departures of key veterans like Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala have left Curry as the last man standing from the Warriors championship core. While the team has attempted to reload with capable players like Buddy Hield, there is no replacing the institutional knowledge, chemistry, and sheer talent of the dynasty-era Warriors. Without Thompson to share the offensive load, even more pressure falls on Curry to be superhuman every night. He no longer has the luxury of coasting through the regular season and flipping the switch come playoff time. For the Warriors to have any hope of making noise in the postseason, they need Curry to be the MVP caliber player he was at his peak. The early returns are concerning to say the least. Curry looks mortal, the Warriors look vulnerable, and the Western Conference looks as deep as it has ever been. For Golden State to keep pace, they need their best player to defy Father Time and rediscover the magic that made him one of the most revolutionary players in the game has ever seen. If Curry can't shoulder the load, it's hard to see the Warriors being anything more than first-round fodder come playoff time.
And a 7-point lead. Curry to the rim, blocked by Cater!
In the peak days of the Warriors dynasty, one of their defining traits was a sense of stability and cohesion. From their star-studded starting 5 to the reliable role players off the bench, everyone knew their job and performed it to perfection. The pieces fit together seamlessly, creating a whole that was greater than the sum of its parts. Fast forward to the 2024-25 season, and that sense of stability has been replaced by a revolving door of lineups and rotations. Injuries to key players like Andrew Wiggins have forced head coach Steve Kerr to play a mix and match with his troops, trotting out a different starting 5 seemingly every night. The result has been a disjointed and inconsistent product on the court. One of the players most affected by the constant lineup shuffling has been third-year forward Jonathan Kuminga. Drafted with the 7th overall pick in 2021, Kuminga was seen as a key piece of the Warriors' future, a raw but immensely talented prospect who could grow into a starring role alongside Curry. But so far this season, Kuminga has struggled to find his place in the rotation. One night he's starting and playing 30-plus minutes, the next he's glued to the bench. The inconsistent playing time has taken a toll on Kuminga's confidence and production. He looks lost at times on both ends of the floor, unsure of where he fits in the grand scheme of things. Kuminga's struggles are emblematic of a larger issue plaguing the Warriors, a lack of defined roles and accountability. In years past, players thrived because they had a clear understanding of what was expected of them, and they were held accountable for meeting those expectations.
Final seconds of the third quarter. Hield, 3, Kerr!
But with so much roster turnover and lineup instability, it's difficult for players to carve out a niche and be held to a consistent standard. When you're not sure if you're going to start or ride the pine from one game to the next, it's hard to prepare mentally and physically to excel in your role. Of course, some of this is outside of Kerr's control. Injuries happen, and the Warriors have been bitten by the injury bug as much as any team in the league. But it's up to the coaching staff to create a culture of accountability and put players in positions to succeed, regardless of the circumstances. As the season wears on, the Warriors must find some measure of stability in their lineups and rotations. They need to define roles for key players and hold them accountable for executing those roles to the best of their abilities. Only then can they hope to build the kind of chemistry and cohesion that defined their championship teams of the past. If they continue to spin their wheels, playing musical chairs with a starting lineup and moving young players like Kuminga around, they risk wasting what could be one of Curry's final years of prime production. For a team with championship aspirations, that simply cannot happen. When a team with sky-high expectations like the Warriors underachieves, the head coach often takes the heat. Steve Kerr is no exception, despite being one of the most successful coaches in NBA history.
Curry again, puts it in, Steph Curry.
In 8 seasons at the helm of the Warriors, Kerr has cemented his place on the Mount Rushmore of NBA coaches. He's won 4 championships, made 5 trips to the finals, and compiled a jaw-dropping .682 winning percentage in the regular season. By any measure, he's one of the most successful coaches in league history. But the NBA is a what have you done for me lately business, and even the most decorated coaches are not immune to the hot seat when things start to go south. With the Warriors stumbling out of the gates and showing signs of vulnerability, the drumbeat of questions about Kerr's job security has grown louder in recent weeks. On one hand, it feels premature and even a bit disrespectful to question Kerr's standing. This is a coach who has navigated the treacherous waters of superstar egos and heightened expectations with grace. His even-keeled demeanor and commitment to a beautiful egalitarian style of basketball has been the defining traits of the Warriors dynasty. But there have been some disconcerting signs that perhaps Kerr's message is starting to grow stale. His lineups and rotations have been inconsistent and at times downright baffling, particularly his usage, or lack thereof, of young players. There have been murmurs that some players are growing weary of his demanding drill sergeant approach to practices and film sessions. To be fair, Kerr has not been dealt with the easiest hand this season. Injuries have forced him to constantly shuffle his lineups and trust unproven players in high-stakes situations. But great coaches find ways to adapt and overcome adversity. They find new ways to motivate their troops and put them in positions to succeed.
Curry to Wiggins, Wiggins the layup, it's gone.
They stay one step ahead of the curve and keep their opponents guessing. So far this season, Kerr has struggled to do that. At this point, it's premature to say Kerr is on the hot seat. He's earned the benefit of the doubt. The NBA is a ruthless business, and even the most successful leaders aren't immune to the unrelenting pressure to win now. The most sobering question facing the Warriors is whether it's time to rebuild. For the last decade, they've been in championship or bust mindset. But what if this roster, as currently constructed, is no longer capable of realistically competing for titles? On the flip side, the Warriors have been so good for so long in large part because they've resisted the urge to overreact to short-term struggles. They've remained committed to their core principles and built a strong culture that has sustained them throughout adversity. Tearing it down and starting over would be a monumental organizational shift. The Warriors also just opened a new state-of-the-art arena and want to keep putting a competitive product on the floor. A full rebuild would be tough for the organization and fan base to stomach. More likely, if the season continues to go sideways, the Warriors will try to thread the needle, trade some veterans to restock the talent cupboard while still building around Curry for one more run at a ring. But the clock is undoubtedly ticking. After breaking down the state of the Warriors, it's clear that there are real reasons for concern. Curry's health and productivity, a lack of consistent lineups and accountability, questions about coaching, and a looming specter of potential rebuild are all significant issues the team will have to confront.
Wiggins cuts, Wiggins finishes, and a foul.
However, we've seen the Warriors overcome adversity time and time again. The key to their resurgence will be getting healthy and defining roles so that players can be put in positions to succeed. If Kerr can settle on lineups and rotations, and Curry can get back to playing at MVP level, this Warriors team is still good enough to make a deep playoff run. But this year's squad doesn't have the same margin for error as previous iterations. They can ill afford major injuries or prolonged slumps. For the first time in a long time, the Warriors appear vulnerable. This will undoubtedly be a pivotal season for Golden State. Will they recapture their championship magic for one last dance, or will the dynasty officially crumble? As always, Curry holds the key to their ultimate fate. If he can summon some of his vintage brilliance, the Warriors will remain a team no one wants to face come playoff time. But if the struggles continue and the losses mount, don't be surprised if this season marks the end of an era and a tipping point that forces the organization to chart a new path forward. The Warriors dynasty has defied odds for nearly a decade. We'll soon find out if they have one last reign in them. But hey, that's just my take. We want to hear from you too. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about the Warriors' chances this year. Do you believe they have one last title run in them, or is it time to start the rebuilding process? And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're always breaking down the biggest stories and trends in the NBA. You won't want to miss our future videos. And hey, while you're at it, smash that bell icon too. That way you'll be notified as soon as we drop new content. Trust me, with how quickly things change in the NBA, you'll want to stay up to date.